All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first call. I'm super excited about this call. I see quite a few people in here already. I know it's New Year's Eve, so I'm going to try to make this call as short as possible, but I will be asking a couple Q&A questions at the end. So before I begin with today's talk about goal setting, I really just wanted to let everyone know why I started these calls in the first place. I feel like 2017 was a very weird year for everyone that I've spoken to. No one said it was a really terrible year, but no one said it was a great year either. I feel like the only person 2017 was amazing for was Cardi B. But in listening to all these people talk, I realized that there's so much negativity and so much fear that's going on, and I just wanted to have a place where people could gather and hear something that's encouraging and positive and educational, empowering, and enlifting. And so that's why I started these calls. Like I said, I know it's New Year's Eve, and a lot of you are on the East Coast, so it's time to go out and get turned up. So I'm going to try to make this quick. I will open up the line for question and answer towards the end, but for the sake of time, I would appreciate if you guys do two things when you ask your questions. Please try to keep it to 30 seconds or a minute. That way I can make it through a ton of questions in like a 10-minute time frame. And then also, please keep your question to today's topic of goal setting. I know a lot of you guys have other random questions like, how can I get my hair color blue, or what's your green bean recipe? But that is another discussion for another day. So let's get started. All right, being that it's New Year's Eve, I'm sure plenty of you already have your New Year's resolution set. And with that being said, I just want you guys to know that goals are not resolutions. They're not resolutions, they're not dreams, they're not desires, and they're not even intentions. Like, goals are literally tools. Goals are the fuel that will help you drive you to reach your dreams and your heart's desires. So it's really, really important that you set goals. Without setting goals, you're easily headed nowhere fast. There is a quote that I love by Fitzhugh Dodson, and it says, "Without goals and a plan to achieve them, you are like the ship that has set sail with no destination." And it's so true. So on this call, I want to teach you guys how to set a SMART goal. Now, some of you might have already heard of a SMART goal, and that's awesome, but some of you might not be familiar. So in order to set a SMART goal, your goal should basically meet 5 criteria. The first one is you want your goal to be specific. The second one is you want your goal to be measurable. The third is attainable. The fourth, I say, is really yours. However, some people might say relevant or results-based. And then the fifth criteria is your goal needs to be time-sensitive. So, for example, a lot of people will set a goal and say something like, I want to get in shape. Well, that's not really a SMART goal because, for one, it's not specific. So in order to make that goal specific, I'd say something like, I want to get in shape by losing weight. Next, I ask myself, is that goal measurable? But because I haven't put any units on it, it's not measurable yet. So in order to make it measurable, I would say I want to get in shape by losing a total weight of 30 pounds. Next comes attainable. And although when you're like dreaming and imagining your heart's desires, you really don't put limitations on the things that you can do or the things that you want, this is an area where you actually do need to be realistic with yourself and assess any limitations that you might be facing. So when it comes to working out, like, are you physically able to work out? Do you have the willpower that it would take to lose 30 pounds? Like, you need to really ask yourself this, even if it's not a weight loss goal. Like, if it's a goal of starting a business or increasing your sales, assess whether you have certain financial limitations or lack of resources or even lack of energy. Like, if you're a new mom or you just got married and you have a lot going on, is this really the right time for you to dive in head first starting a business? It might or it might not be, but you need to at least ask yourself this question. So after you ask yourself if your goal is attainable, you want to ask yourself if this goal is really yours. Like, are you only trying to lose 30 pounds because someone told you you should lose 30 pounds, or is that something that you really, really want for yourself? I meet tons of people who tell me that the reason why they're doing certain things is because someone else told them to do it or they saw someone else doing it. I'm going to med school because my dad wants me to be a doctor, or I started a hair company because my homegirl said I should start a business. I set a goal to sell a house a week because this girl I follow on Instagram, she set a goal to sell a house a week through her real estate business, so I set that goal too. If the goal is not really yours, the possibilities of you achieving it is pretty low, because on the days that it gets hard for you to continue and want to push yourself and drive to reach your goal, you're not going to have that motivation there because it's not really your goal. So when you're setting your goals, make sure that you ask yourself if they're really yours. And lastly, you want to make sure that the goal you set for yourself is time sensitive. You want to put a time limit on it. So I would say something like, I want to get in shape by losing a total weight of 30 pounds by March 13th. And I picked March 13th because that's my birthday. But that essentially is how you set a SMART goal. So now that you've set your SMART goal, you need to ask yourself, how is it that you set yourself up to win? How do you position yourself to basically achieve this goal no matter what? And a couple of different ways I've realized you can do this is, number one, sorry guys, there's sirens. I was downtown, so it's always loud. You want to know your why. Now, this is really, really important because, as I said before, you're going to have days where achieving this goal is just hard. You're not motivated. You're over it. You're tired of starting over. You're having a bad day, etc. But knowing your why really will help you re-motivate and re-energize, and it'll keep you going on those really, really hard days. Now, I will say one thing that your why should never be, and your why should never be that you're doing it because of the money. Your why needs to be so much deeper than that, and I'm saying this from personal experience and from talking to a lot of really successful people. Like, there's been times where I've had a lot of money, and there's been times where I've had no money. And in the times where I have a lot of money, you literally will get to a point where money no longer motivates you to do certain things. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that I'm really doing this? Like, why do I want to lose this weight? Is it because I want to be around longer to enjoy my family, et cetera, et cetera? Another tip number 2, is what I like to call taking out the trash. So basically, this is the part of your life where you will remove things, people, or bad habits and completely rid yourself of everything that will deter or distract you from achieving your goal. So if your goal is to lose weight, you want to clean out your fridge. You want to get rid of all those unhealthy snacks in your cabinet. If your goal is to start a profitable business, you want to rid yourself of those people you have around you that are constantly talking to you and constantly giving you like negative energy and fear and trying to talk you out of your dreams. Like, there is literally no room for confidence zappers and dream assassins, like I like to call them. Like, you need to distance yourself from those people. If you're trying to save money or improve your credit score, you might want to stop following people on Instagram that make you want to swipe your credit card. Stop hanging out with people who always want to pop bottles and buy sections and buy shoes, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you have to take out the trash and clear some space for the new mindset that you're going to need to have to achieve your goals. The third thing is to focus on the outcome and not the sacrifice. A lot of times when we set a goal, we start off thinking about all the things that we have to give up. Oh, my God, like, I'm not going to be able to have sugar, or I'm not going to be able to go to the club and hang out with my friends. I'm not going to be able to buy those new Louboutins. Like, we just think of all the stuff that we're giving up. Instead, I encourage you to focus on the things that you will be gaining. You'll have more money in your bank account. You'll be able to fit into your old clothes. You'll have better self-confidence. Like, just constantly think about the result and how you'll feel when you achieve them, and that'll help you stay on track with your goal. The fourth thing is to write your goals down. Now, some of you who follow me on social media might have heard me share this story before, but this might be new to some of you as well. But there was a study conducted on members of the Harvard MBA program, the class of 1979, and basically they surveyed the class, and they asked the class one simple question. They said, have you set clear written goals for your future and plans to accomplish them? Well, 84% of the class had no specific goals at all. 13% of the class had goals, but they hadn't written those goals down. Only 3% of the class had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. So 10 years later, the same 10 years later, the same class was surveyed, and what they found was that the 13% of the class who had goals were earning, on average, twice as much as the 84% of the class who had no goals at all. But the part of this story that really, really got me was that the 3% of the class that had clear written goals and plans to achieve them were earning 10 times more than the 97% combined. So literally take all those people and multiply their income by 10, and that's what the 3% was earning. So it's really, really important for you to write your goals down, write down plans to achieve them, and put that paper or whatever you're writing it on somewhere where you can see it every day. It's not enough to just write it down and then put it in the back of the closet or throw it, well, not throw it away, of course, but like throw it in a drawer or put it in a notebook and then not take the notebook out for months, etc. So make sure that you write the stuff down and you put it somewhere where you can see it. The last tip I have for you on how to position yourself to win is to break your goals down. You want to set micro goals, and breaking your goals down into these smaller, more achievable chunks only helps you set a pace to be on track. And the small progress that you get from hitting each milestone will motivate and encourage you and push you to keep going. So if we take my weight loss goal, for example, I had set a goal to lose 30 pounds by my birthday, which is March 13th. I would take those 30 pounds, which is the overall goal, and I would divide it by the number of time that I have to reach that goal, which is approximately 10 weeks. So basically, all I have to do to get my micro goals is divide 30 by 10, and I will have a micro goal of losing 3 pounds every single week. So that is that for my goal-setting call. And I'm going to take a few questions now. If you have a question, the way that you raise your hand is by pushing 5 star. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask me now. Bear with me because in order for me to unmute you, I'm going to have to scroll through a few hundred people on this call. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask me now.
Hi, my name is Chantal. I'm calling from Atlanta, and my question is going towards writing down the goals. I have millions of notebooks, and I write down ideas and goals all the time, but I write so much it becomes overwhelming and eventually discouraging because I have too much information to sort through. How do you write and plan without overwhelming yourself?
You know what? You sound exactly like me. I am a notebook addict. I just buy them all the time because I love notebooks, and I just write and write and write. But what I realized is once I create my micro goals for each one, I then take my micro goals and turn those into to-do lists, and I just have ever-growing to-do lists. So I'll take a whole separate to-do list notebook, and every day I just write in whatever I didn't accomplish the day before. And I see that it's kind of like streamlined my thoughts and my goals in a sense. And I order them by priority. So I know that I'm not going to make it through my to-do list every single day, and that's why I put the stuff that I really, really need to accomplish and the things that will help me accomplish other goals closer to the top. And then whatever I didn't accomplish that day, I'll move over to the next day, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Thank you for your question. Let me see who's next.
Hey, so my name is Marche. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and my question is, if a part of my goal is to just move across the country, but I'm broke and I'm really fearful, how do I get over that fear?
Well, one thing I know about fear is that, first of all, it's normal. People freak out when they see that they're afraid of something, but I just take being fearful as doing something new, not necessarily that I'm going to fail. So you need to train your mind to understand that fear is okay and it's normal, and it just means that you're doing something bold, and it's an opportunity for you to be better and to grow. And then plan for your move. Figure out small changes that you can make to save up extra money, or maybe start thinking about different resources that you haven't thought about because you weren't really digging deep. I say all the time that there's a certain, there's actually a power to being broke. And I think Damon John maybe might have wrote a book and titled it that. But one thing I know is when I didn't have the money to do certain things, it forced me to be creative and to think deeper. And that might be something that you need to do in this instance, is start thinking of maybe family members that you know across the country, friends, different resources that you might be able to tap into in order to make your journey successful.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Patricia. I'm calling from Detroit, Michigan. And my question is, I guess it's a little similar to the first caller's question, just about prioritizing goals. I just wanted to get your advice on how to properly prioritize goals, especially if, like, you're a new business. Like, what are some things that you feel like a new business should have accomplished within the first year?
Well, I think it just boils down to asking yourself what success really means to you from the beginning. Because I think success is defined differently for different people. Some businesses define success based on their sales. Some businesses would define the success based on moving into a physical location. So I would start off asking yourself what it is that you define your success to be, and then from there setting goals that move you closer to that dream.
That was very helpful.
Awesome.
I go to work and I go to school and I want to start a shoe line and a clothing line. When I go to write down my goals, I don't even know where to start. Or not my goals, but how to achieve it by doing all of it at the same time. I'm sorry.
Well, that's where asking yourself if it's attainable for you in this moment is what will come into play. Like, if you don't have the energy or if you don't have the time to achieve certain goals, you might want to start off setting smaller or more attainable goals that'll get you towards your bigger goal, if that makes sense. So if you don't have the time to run a business right now, maybe your goal, instead of starting the business, should be to gather up all the resources that you'll need to be prepared for when you start the business.
Okay. And can I ask another question?
Sure.
If you don't know where to start on, like, making shoes, what would be the first step?
I would totally get on Google. And so many people sleep on Google, and I guess because it's right there in your face, you feel like you can't find what you're looking for. But I've learned so much from just Googling, even down to, like, starting my business. I literally started my entire business thanks to Google. So I would Google and collect all the information that I possibly can.
Perfect. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed this first call. If you have any feedback, any comments, etc., please feel free to go leave me a comment on any of my social media pages, so like my Instagram or my Facebook. I'm Olori Swank on everything, so go flood my comments. You guys be safe tonight. Have a ton of fun, and a Happy New Year.